Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It's Friday afternoon. We're all in the right place. It's good to see each and every one of you here at the Missionary service. We are just blessed to be back together again today. It has been a great week. We've been challenged. I know I've been challenged. I've been inspired, and I hope you have as well. So we're here for another great day, and we look forward to having David Uhl's going to share with us about some of the work that he's been doing in the General Missionary Department in the area of church engagement, and give some insights on things that he's been working with churches. And then we'll hear from our friend Tom Amlin. Tom, as I mentioned this morning, if you were in this morning service, Tom has been helping out on the American Indian Field. And now we call it, most of us would remember it as the American Indian Field. Now we call it with our Southwest Ministries team. And Tom has just been an incredible support there on the Gila River Reservation, particularly with Steve and Debbie Cartwright and their ministry at Siloam Church. But we are, again, thankful that each one of you are here. Would you just bow your heads with me as we open up in a word of prayer? God, we thank you again for the opportunity to be here, to work, be about your work. Lord, to hear from those who are in the field, those who are on the front lines. And God, we thank you for them, and we thank you for what we've been able to learn from them. And God, we just pray that you would be with us again today as you have each day. Bless our time together. May we be challenged and inspired in an even greater ways to find our place in the fulfillment of the Great Commission. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Well, as I mentioned, David Uhl serves as the Director of Missional Engagement in the General Missionary Department. We were able to bring David on in a part-time capacity this past year. It has been a wonderful blessing and addition, and David has been doing several things. He's been out traveling among our churches, holding services. He has been leading a number of training events for missionary presidents and pastors and church leaders. This past year, we had 4 training events that David led. There were 86 attendees. So we've had 86 people attend missionary department trainings, and those have been great. What we are trying to do is to put the tools in your hand to equip our local leaders so that they can engage their church in even greater ways to fulfill the Great Commission. So ladies and gentlemen, would you welcome our first speaker today, Dr. David Uhl.
I want to begin by asking a question. What does a leader look like? What is a leader? A leader is someone who, fill in the blank. This is the audience participation time, and so you're going to interact. Serves. A leader serves. What does a leader do? Builds teams. Inspires people. Sees the need first. Others. Leads others as they follow God. Very good, yes. Leads by example. Very good. They're organized. That is the hope, yes. That they... Anyone else? Makes people aware. Sacrifices. Anyone else? There are I suppose there probably are wrong answers, but I haven't heard one yet. So if this is the way that we were to describe a leader, the next logical question in my mind is, well, what is a missions leader? What is a missions leader? And just to shorten up the question and answer time, it's all of those things we just said, with the focus on world missions and world evangelization. That's what a missions leader is. A leader is someone with influence. That's what leadership is, influence. Nothing more, nothing less. Leadership is about taking people from where they are to where they would not ordinarily go on their own. And so by virtue of that definition, you are all leaders. Every single person sitting here is a leader. And you say, oh, no, I'm not a leader. I don't have anyone to lead. I don't supervise anyone. I don't have the position of leadership. How many of you have ever known someone in a position of leadership to not be a leader? It happens when they don't have influence, when they cannot do what it is that needs to be done. It happens. The position is irrelevant. Each one of you is a leader. And not only is each one of you a leader because you have influence, each one of you is a missions leader because you have influence with regard to supporting and encouraging and inspiring people to have a mission-minded mindset in your churches, in your families, in your homes, in your communities. You are a missions leader. You know how else I know it? Because here we are on a Friday afternoon at 1:30 after lunch, and you have decided to join us for this mission service. So it doesn't matter that you're not a missions president maybe in your church. Maybe some of you are. It doesn't matter that you don't have a position on a church board. You are a missions leader. And by virtue of that, you have the opportunity to have an unbelievable impact on your church, on the people who attend your church as we continue to talk about world missions and what's going on. And so a missions leader then is a bridge. When we talk about a missionary president or a missions leader, each one of you are a bridge in your churches, in your communities, from the church and the congregation and the people across to the things that are happening from a mission standpoint. You're a bridge from your local church and your congregation to our missionaries. You're a bridge from your local church and congregation and its people to our district and general boards and committees and ministry activities and events that happen. That's what you are. You're in the middle of that picture, that bridge that comes across each and every one of you. Because you have influence, because you care about and support missions, you are a missions leader. And so as we think about that, and we think about what it means to be a leader and a missions leader, and we think about that context of connectedness, that's really, really important. The connection back and forth. And so I want to hear from you some of the ways that you know that you and your churches are connected back to the General Missionary Department. What are some ways that you are connected back to us as a General Missionary Department, as church members, as congregations that are a part of our denomination? Call them out. Prayer. Okay, very good. Other ways. What are some specific ways that you find out what is going on in our denomination when it comes to missions? Missionary presidents, very good. Where are we getting the exposure from? The Advocate, someone said it. Yes, the Evangelical Advocate remains one of our main ways to connect with you. I hope each and every one of you get the Evangelical Advocate. I hope that you read it, because, getting it's one thing, you got to actually open it up and read it, right? I hope that you take advantage, because it remains one of the main ways as we get that center spread in each advocate that outlines the things that are happening with our missionaries, with our missions projects, and what's happening around the world that you are all having an impact on. Very good. The Wednesday missions tips. So the Together in Prayerful Supplication, that's what TIPS stands for. And it is a weekly Wednesday newsletter that you can receive in your email that highlights our missionaries. Different missionaries each week are highlighted, as well as projects, things that are happening, as well as opportunities to reach out to our missionaries who are at home on Homeland Ministry assignment that you can call and schedule. It is phenomenally important. If there's anyone here who is not currently getting the every Wednesday tips email, please see Michael, please see me, please see Amber. All you got to do is give us your email address. Listen, we're not going to spam you. You're going to get one email a week from us on Wednesdays, in the morning usually, 10, 11, 12 o'clock. And it's going to add tremendous value. We have churches who get these, they print them out, they hand them out to their churches, they copy and paste that information into the bulletin, they forward it on to their email lists, because not everyone in their church may be signed up for tips. There are ways for you to utilize this tool and send it broadly out to make an impact and a difference in missions. Very good. What else? How else are we connected? your church or your church members and attendees connected to the General Missionary Department through the Advocate, through the newsletter? How else? Through support. Very good. Through supporting our missionaries. We'll talk about funding the mission here in just a minute. How else? How about some events? How about the mission-minded men dinner and banquet, the missions banquet sponsored by MMM every year? How about our district rallies and celebrations that happen during and around our councils every single year? How about the General Missionary Department rally that we just had? These activities and events that connect us back to what's happening in our denomination, to what's happening on our districts and in our general department and globally around the world. We have to be connected. If you're a missions leader, and we've already established everyone here is, being connected is essential. It's essential to being effective. Missionary meet, missionary services. Yeah. Absolutely. Any of those ministries and events keep us connected to each other. It keeps us connected to our missionaries, and it keeps us connected to the work that they are doing around the world. Sure. Yeah. The West Central District had sponsored some Zoom prayer sessions that were online a couple times a year. We were doing those, and we had missionaries who would join us, and they were great times of connection, again, with each other and with our missionaries who are on the field or who are at home working to get back to the field. So that's another great activity and ministry that certainly keeps us connected. So at the end of the day, we're missions leaders, and we need to be connected to one another, to our missionaries, and to the things that they are doing around the world. So again, please see Amber, Michael, or I. If you do not get tips, we want you to make sure that you get that. If you don't get the Evangelical Advocate, we want you to get that. It's $10 a year, and if you have a missionary share, guess how much it costs? Nothing. That's right. People know. The front knows here. It doesn't cost anything. So you should be getting it if you have a share on a missionary. And so it's no cost to you. So see us. We want to make sure we are connected. We want to make sure you have those resources. These are the types of things that we're talking about when we're meeting with your churches, your missionary presidents, your pastors, in the trainings that Michael mentioned that we've had now in each of the stateside districts, as well as one general training over the last year. We're planning more trainings for new missionary presidents, new pastors, church boards this fall in our districts. So we hope you'll stay tuned both to tips and to our other modes of communication so that you can be connected to those as they happen. So we know that connectedness is essential to success. But then we also know we have to fund the mission, right? And you're here on a Friday, and it's likely that you know how we fund the mission with regard to world missions in the Churches of Christ and Christian Union. But I'm always surprised when I do this, and there are people who say, I didn't realize that, or I didn't know that's how it worked. So we're going to talk about it very briefly for a few minutes. How do we fund the work? Well, one of the ways that we fund the work of the General Missionary Department is through Kid Power. How many have heard of Kid Power? Most hands all across the congregation. We all know what Kid Power is. Now, Kid Power we think of as an offering, but Kid Power is much more than an offering. It is a way to invest in kids, to ensure that they are praying passionately, giving generously, and going wherever it is God calls them to go. That's what Kid Power is about. So is it an offering? It is. A lot of churches take an offering up monthly. Some of our churches take it up weekly. They take up a Kid Power offering that then gets sent back to the General Missionary Department. But it's more than just that. And we, as a denomination, have actually created some curriculum that Kid Power churches that give to Kid Power, get absolutely free at no cost to them. Now, this curriculum, developed by people who are a part of our denomination and connected to our denomination, isn't some abstract curriculum that talks about world missions from a no way to connect back standpoint. No. This curriculum is based on our missionaries, our 3CU missionaries, past and current, who have been on the field and who have done the work that we highlight. And so this curriculum is available to any church. If you're not a Kid Power church, we sure want you to be a Kid Power church, and you can talk to me about how you can do that. If you're not, you can purchase this, but any Kid Power church has the opportunity to receive this curriculum for free. And so we know that Kid Power is an important part of this. As we look at this, the focus is on kids and how we can invest in those kids to have a meaningful impact and have a missions mindset, a world view of missions and just how important it is. So Kid Power is one of the ways. What's another way that we talk about how we fund, that's all right, you can go ahead. How we fund the General Missionary Department. Keep going. Kid Power, as it says up there, raises about $100,000, a little more than that every year. That is significant dollars that we need in the General Missionary Department. And I'm going to tell you how those dollars are invested in just a second. But before that, another way that we fund the mission, fund the work of the General Missionary Department, is through the Advent offering. The Advent offering happens around Christmas time every year. The Advent offering is an opportunity for our churches to focus on and connect with world missions during the Advent season. It's also one of the ways that we fund disaster relief around the world. So when there's a disaster somewhere in the world, a portion of this offering every year has automatically been set aside by the General Missionary Board to support wherever that disaster somewhere around the world may be. And so Kid Power and the Advent offering help to fund the support services that the General Missionary Department offers. And you say, well, why is that? Why is it that these offerings, which generate significant dollars across our denomination to support the ministries of the General Missionary Department, why do we need to have them? Well, for those of us who know and understand what our churches are responsible to do each and every month, we realize that per the manual, our churches give 10% in budget tithe that goes back to the general and district department as a whole. And then 3% goes to Ohio Christian University. And then 0.5% to Evangelical Christian Youth, and 0.5% to Christian education. 14% of the dollars a church brings in goes back to headquarters, back to the Global Ministry Center, to help fund the ministries of the Global Ministry Center. But what's missing up there? Missions. There's no percentage that churches send in as a part of their budget tithe that goes to missions. Kid Power and Advent offerings were created for the specific purpose of funding the support services of the General Missionary Department. What are some of those services? They're listed on the screen. Communication support for our missionaries, connection to our 3CU churches and districts and leaders, accounting services and fundraising administration, donor development and fundraising, disaster relief, missionary housing and storage. There's another really great point that we can't see because it's got cut off. I don't know what it says, but it's great, a great service that we offer out of the General Missionary Department. And I want you to guess how much we charge our missionaries. Missionaries, don't answer. How much we charge our missionaries for these services? Nothing. Nothing. He got it right. We charge $0 for those services, and yet we have expenses that we have to figure out how to fund. And so Advent and Kid Power on purpose fund those things. We charge $0. The key should have been 0. Yeah, no 0, no big 0. That's all right. Keep going. We charge $0. Next slide. So as we think about this, not only do we charge $0, can you go ahead and push it? Yeah. How much do we keep from missionary support? So many churches and individuals within our churches have support on our missionaries. You might have a share. You might do Faith Promise. You give to missionaries specifically for some reason. And oftentimes churches should be, all the time, sending those dollars to the General Missionary Department for accounting and receipting, and then we send those dollars on to World Gospel Mission. How much money as a missionary's share and support is sent to headquarters do you think the General Missionary Department keeps? $0. That's exactly right. $0. We don't keep any of that. If you give $25 in a month for a share for a missionary, $25 gets moved on to World Gospel Mission. We keep zero of those dollars. Has it always been like that? Has not always been like that. But in the last many years, that has been how we have done this work. We don't keep any of the money that you give directly to a missionary share or faith promise. It 100% goes to that missionary's account to World Gospel Mission. And so Advent and Kid Power help to fund the things that we're doing. A lot of us give online. How many of you ever given online? People are shaking their head. I see a few hands. They give online regularly. You can give online and support a missionary monthly or quarterly or annually. You can go online to our website. It's safe and secure, and set up a recurring monthly or quarterly giving where it's just coming out once a month. Now, for those of us who purchase things with a credit card or purchase things online, we know what comes along with that, oftentimes paid by the vendor you're purchasing from. There are fees, right? So when we receive a credit card gift, an online electronic gift for a missionary for $25, well, it's not really $25 because there are fees involved in that. And we have to pay, or someone has to pay. There's an opportunity for you to accept those fees and sort of up your gift. If it's $25, maybe it turns into $27.13, and that pays the fee to process that credit card. But you don't have to check that box, and sometimes people don't check that box. And so guess how much money we keep from a missionary share of $25 when it's given online and they say, we do not want to pay the fee. Guess how much? Zero. We pay the fees. And so we make that share whole, and it's 100% sent directly to World Gospel Mission and that missionary's account. And so these are the reasons that Kid Power and Advent are so important, because these services that we offer provide value to our missionaries, provide value to our churches, our pastors, our missionary presidents, our denomination, as we continue to work to spread the gospel and advance the Great Commission around the world. All right, hit the button. By design, those offerings on purpose, intentionally, help to fund those services that we just talked about. Now, you know, as a local church and as local church members, that you can also invest in our missionaries in a number of ways. We talked about a few of them already. Regular support and shares of our missionaries, whether it's $25 a month or $50 or $100. We have churches that use shares. We have individuals who do that, and we have churches who will take shares out on a missionary. So that's one of the ways. We know Faith Promise is another way. Some of our churches are Faith Promise churches, and that is the way that they are supporting our missionaries and their work around the world. At the end of the day, while there is fundraising involved in the work that we are doing in the General Missionary Department, while there's fundraising involved by our missionaries who are working to get to the field that God has called them to go to, the reality is it's more than about money. This is about engaging and investing in the Great Commission. That's why we do these things. That's why the offerings are so important. That's why your share support and your Faith Promise support is so important, because we're engaging and involving ourselves in the Great Commission. We are moving things forward through your gifts, and we are so grateful for every person, for every church, for everyone who is giving, whether it's to Kid Power and Advent, whether it's directly for the missionary support that we were just talking about. We are thankful for your gifts to support and fund the mission that is happening. Now, one of the things we talk about when we go out and do some training with pastors and missionary presidents is how do we host a missionary well? We've got several missionaries in here. Missionaries, how many of you have a story where you've shown up somewhere and you've had quite the experience? You've shown up somewhere and had quite the experience, Mike? Maybe things didn't go the way you thought they might go. Maybe something was a little bit off. So sometimes we're just not sure what it is we need to do to host our missionaries well. And so some of our missionaries had sent some ideas and thoughts in for how they would feel hosted well. And then our general missionary superintendent a couple years ago put together an advocate article that we turned into a pamphlet that we pass out at every training that talks about what can we do to host our missionaries well. And we're going to go through some of these very, very quickly because I think we don't think about these things sometime. Missionaries, feel free to chime in as to whether these things have significant value for you or maybe they do not. Can you consider, when you bring a missionary to your church, multiple speaking opportunities so that they're not just coming for a 10:30 or 10:45 service in the morning, but maybe we can get them into Sunday school before or after service, or maybe we can get them to the children's ministry that's happening before service in Sunday school, or maybe you have a PM service and they're coming back that evening. What can we do to provide more than just the one opportunity for missionaries to speak to your people and to engage with your congregation? Before a missionary comes, it's great to educate your congregation on them and their ministry so that they're not flying blind, coming in, and no one knows who they are. They don't know what field they're on. They don't know what ministries they've been involved in. Some prep work ahead of time will be helpful for the missionaries who are coming to your church. And then you can educate the missionary on your congregation as well. This is the makeup of our congregation. These are the people that are there. Maybe we haven't had a missionary in a long time. Maybe we haven't yet taken support out on a missionary, but we're ready to do so, and there's some opportunity there. So education, both to the congregation and to the missionary about the congregation, is very, very valuable. Now, what about when they're there? What do we do when a missionary gets there? Let your congregation know that questions are okay. I've not yet met a missionary who is not interested in answering the questions that a congregation has during or before or after a service. So please let people know. We want engagement. Missionaries want to engage in a meaningful way with people while they are visiting your churches. And you say, why are you telling me this? I'm not the pastor. I'm not the missionary president. No. You're a missions leader, and you have influence, and you can make an impact and a difference when you go back to your local church and share these things with your pastor and share these things with your missions president or with your missions committee to make a difference as our missionaries visit. All right, we can keep going. Got it. You know, if a missionary comes to your church and we give them an honorarium, and let's say it's $250, but they traveled 125 miles one way and 125 miles the other way to come to your church, well, that $250 has turned into a lot less than that when they take their expenses out, whether maybe it's lodging, whether it's food, whether it's mileage. And so what can we do to not only give the honorarium that we feel is appropriate, but also ensure that we are taking care of the travel expenses of our missionary as well? We can facilitate ongoing conversation. There have been many times when I was pastor that I'd have people come up to me and say, hey, I want to give, but I don't have my checkbook. Or I want to give, but I'm going to start and bring it next week. And so when people talk to me because the missionary was engaged with someone else, that missionary never knew that. They don't know that there are people who may want to invest because they were working with other people at the time. So what we can do is facilitate that ongoing conversation and make sure we are connected back to that missionary. Thank the missionary for coming. Reach out to them, phone, text, email, and let them know how much you appreciated that they came and shared their ministry. Give them updates on anything they may not know about with regard to prayer support or financial support that came in. This will add value to the missionary. Hosting missionaries is about partnering together. It's about investing in their ministry, connecting your church in a meaningful and real way to the Great Commission through that missionary's ministry, through their service. Because the reality is, many of us may not be called to go to the mission field, but we're still called to help go. See, we're either called to go or help go, and some may suggest we're called to do both, go and help go. We go into our communities. We go into our own little world. We go to where God has set our feet and share the gospel, missionaries in our own communities. But then we're also called to help go. Help those who have been called to go someplace far away. Help those who have been called to go someplace far from to where they came from. And so as we put all of this together, there are certain things that we can do as missions leaders, which each and every one of you is. And that includes being a missions leader in your local church, casting vision and inspiring others to get involved in the Great Commission, partnering with pastors and missionaries, with your committee and board, your congregation, and other churches in your area, in your district, or in your immediate geographical area to make an impact in the area of missions. Encourage intercessory prayer for our missionaries in your local church. I'm not the pastor, I'm not the missionary. It doesn't matter. Don't you think you can encourage and inspire someone to pray for our missionaries, to pray for their needs, to pray that God, as we've heard throughout this week, would call more people into the harvest. We know He's calling. We need people to respond to that call of God. We can pray and ask God to help with that. There are ways that we can remain and get engaged and involved. And I hope that as we go forth from this place, as we think about some of the things that are going to happen this fall when it comes to some training we're doing with pastors and missions presidents and church leaders, that you will encourage your pastor and your missions president, or that you would be encouraged to come and learn more about how we can continue together to advance the Great Commission, how we can support world missions from right here, or from right wherever it is God has set your feet. Thank you so much for the opportunity to come and speak with you today. I'm happy quickly to answer any questions before Michael comes and kicks me out. Yes. Well, you don't have to pay a credit card fee to begin with, but we have to pay it, but 100% of that still goes to the missionary. We're not going to. Nope, we're going to pass the $100 right on. Yep, one-time gift or recurring, doesn't matter. We're going to pass it right on. Sure. Yeah, I don't know if we're getting a lot of Western Union or MoneyGram type of transactions or giving. That's a great question. We can talk offline about something like that. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I guess you'd kind of have to figure that out. It would not jeopardize it from you continuing to invest and be a part of missions. But if it's going to take up some of your time or your resource, then that's something I guess each individual would have to figure out. Talk to me after, and we can try to figure something out. I see Michael coming to my periphery. You got about 13 seconds left. Well, thank you all very much. Again, I hope you will connect. Grab Amber, grab me. We would be happy to talk with you about any of the content you've heard today, or if you want me to come to your church, I am scheduling services now for August, September, October, and they're filling up quickly. I've scheduled several already here at camp, so please reach out. I'd be happy to come to your church, speak about missions, and continue to encourage and equip your people to advance the Great Commission right from where they are. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, David. I had to walk up here because this morning, right before the morning service started, Tom said, David's not going to take any of my time, is he? I said, no, David's not going to take any of your time. And so, well, we've got 1 minute to spare, Tom. Well, thank you, David. Tom has been, again, just a great blessing and a great friend. Tom is a godly man and just somebody that if you don't know him, you're going to want to get to know him and spend some time with him this week. Tom, would you come and share with us? Yeah, you can clap.
Is that called a rhetorical question that you ask when you already know the answer? Yeah. That's kind of what I had. I'm going to move back here. So, I'm just curious about this. This used to be up there, and people were up a little farther. So does this mean we'll be in the lobby next year, or? I really am happy that they're doing some of this. It does help as being a missionary. being there in the services and so forth. I really appreciate it. I'm going to do something that I don't know that I've ever done before, and that's why I have some notes here. The Lord has led me just a little bit differently than normal. Is there anyone here this afternoon you were not in this morning's service? Anybody? Okay, a couple. All right, you guys would already know what I would add and what I said this morning about what I said. Anyway, I have been praying about this as to what do I share, what is it that I need to say, and God kept laying some things on my heart, and I'm going to do my best today to give to you what He has given to me. There is a verse that come to me a while back. I don't remember how it just showed up for me, but it's Micah 6:8, and then there's a verse that comes off of that that I want to read in a minute too. But Micah 6:8, and it says, "He has shown you, O man, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you, but to do justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God." That has been speaking to me for the last several days, that verse. I shared that with a couple people as well. And then if you go back to the verse that kind of goes along with that, Matthew 22:36. Matthew 22:36. "Teacher, which is the great commandment in the law?" Jesus said to him, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the first and great commandment. And the second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself." Let me read that 40th verse too. "On these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets." And I've been thinking about foundation. As having done some building, if it calls for a certain amount of concrete in the footer, I don't know that I've ever built a building that only had what was required. I've always put extra in it, because the last thing you want to do is put something on top of it and find out that it's not going to hold. I promise you that you can go out back here and on that library edition, I guarantee you there's a lot more concrete in that footer than was ever required, because you need to have a good foundation. Mount of Praise was started in 1918. You heard a little bit of this last night. Started in 1918. 1948, they started the Mount of Praise Bible College. And then in 1954, it was changed to CBC. In 1967, and you heard this morning, I went to CBC for a youth conference, and that's where I got saved. I did not go there for any idea of giving my heart to Christ. I will tell you, I did not. But I did, and I'm very thankful I did. I'm talking about foundation. When they started Mount of Praise, and having been associated with it all my life, and they tell me, I was pretty young at the time, but they told me when I was born, a few months after that, I was at Mount of Praise camp. Like I said, I can't verify that because I was pretty young then. But from that point on, it was a part of my life. Circleville Bible College became a part of my life when we would have people coming, the Harvest Home services, the the choirs, different things. And when I gave my heart to Christ and sold out to the Lord, it became even more of a part of foundation for me. I mentioned this morning that I got 3 works of grace at that time in 1967. All told, God gave me 4 works of grace. You say you're making, no, I'm not. I'm serious about this. God has done things for me over the years that I didn't do anything to deserve it, except for one thing. I said yes. And you see, when I said yes, then God took care of everything. Pause with me for a minute. Lord, you have me here to say a few words. I'm trying to do my best. I pray that you would speak to hearts, and I pray that the enemy be defeated. Need your help, Lord. Amen. I've thought about that over the years, how God has led. I don't remember asking God to send me any place at all, or asking him, I want to do this, God. Because I gave everything that I wanted to do to him on April the 28th at 9 o'clock in the morning. I knew that I had to do that. And so I did. It's interesting to me, the messages that I've been able to hear this week, and the one this morning, and even right now as David was talking, as I'm picking up a theme that I really like to hear. But I don't want to get off on that rabbit trail. We were in ministry for a number of years, and then on through the life when Jackie was not well, in the nursing home, on the mission field, in the campus. God led us to do different things. He's allowed me to learn so much, and he's allowed me the opportunity on the American Indian field to be a part of some people's lives there. I want to tell you, there is nothing that I enjoy more than making the difference in people's lives for Christ. Today, this morning, I didn't know this would happen, but before I left to come here where I'm staying, I had the opportunity to be able to talk and witness to 2 people. That's awesome. I didn't ask God for it necessarily, except there's been times when I've said, God, put people in my life. Help me to make a difference. And he does that because guess what? He wants to make a difference in their life. Sometimes I'm amazed as I think about trying to figure out the love of God, how he can love somebody that does things that I can't imagine, and yet he would forgive them and bring them into his arms if they'll just let him. And we get the opportunity to be able to share that. One of the first people I think about when I talk about missions is Michael on the reservation. Michael was an alcoholic and a drug addict. And today, he was one of the lead pastors at Shalom Church, where Steve and Debbie have been, and where God led me to go and work. I want to emphasize that. When God laid it on my heart, I didn't think about it until he laid it on my heart. I didn't ask him to go there and do that. But God led me just like he's led me to other places for ministry. We talk about a calling. He made it very evident. And after talking with them and having Priscilla look at me after the presentation, she said, Tom, because I'd been working with them when I was a full-time missionary, said, Tom, do you remember this was my dream? I said, and I I've got a pretty good memory so far. And I looked at her, I said, that's right. It was. But God worked out those steps. I'm trying to make a connection between foundation and walking with God and allowing Him to lead, because I believe there is a lot more people who could be active in the work of missions or ministry, period, that probably don't believe they're capable of it. For some reason, they don't feel qualified. And the enemy jumps on that and fights that. And folks, we got to pray against that. The enemy works on us, and I know he's working on you, and he's working on me right now. This is not something you once said, because we can make a difference. How many people does it take to make a difference, to make it worthwhile, to make the effort? Just one. We're talking about eternity. I think about it. This is not necessarily a young man from the mission work, but I think of Danny Thompson there in Tucson, one of the little boys in my church, one of the most ornery little boys, I'll tell you, and you can't help but love him. I said he's liable to end up being a preacher, and he did. And he come here to Circleville Bible College, got his education, and today he is one of the best pastors, hospice pastors you're going to find anywhere. I think about some others that I probably shouldn't take time to go into, but none of us did it alone. And the more that we can have helping, that's why I appreciated that presentation. The more people we can have that sin, that pray, that are actually a part of what's going on. You see, the scripture I read, there's a picture I get when I read Micah. Because one of my prayers has been, God, draw me so close to you that just but the whisper of your voice, and I can hear it. You know why that's important? Stand up. You get to play Jesus for a minute. Okay. Just a minute. The closer I get to Him, the easier it is to hear. And I've thought about this in the area of prayer. If I'm this close and I'm praying, it's like a position of prayer that is, you just don't get any closer than that. How close can we get? I want people to be able to walk past and feel there's a difference. I could give you some names of people that's happened with. The presence of prayer, walking with Him, that's what it's about. After Jackie passed away, and after a period of time, there's a lot I'd like to fill in, but I guess I only have so much time to. I said I wasn't sure God made two women to put up with me, but He either did or Pam's being punished for something. I don't know which one it is sometimes. But she's not able to be here for a couple reasons. One is having some physical issues. She needs the rest. But also, she has some ladies that she's trying to minister to that she's going to spend time with. So that's where my fourth blessing come in. That's why I said what I did, the fourth part of grace. I had to watch when David Lattimore, my dear friend down here, when he was awarded the other night, well deserved. But I love it when he says, I'm not done yet. Folks, I just wonder what would happen if more people was, I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet. My comment is, I'm going to live till I die. Now, that doesn't mean I'm just going to breathe. If you've been around me very much, you know I like to have a good time. I love to see people laugh. And I love to experience good things. I can cry with you. I can pray with you, or we can have a good time. But I'm going to live until I die. That means, God, if you lead me to do something, I'm going to do my best to do it. Now, I don't move quite as fast as I used to. And some people still say, hey, if you run over here, I said, hold right there. I might be able to shuffle fast to get over there, but I can't run much anymore. But I'm going to make an effort. I'm not patting myself on the back. I'm saying, God, help me to continue. Help me to continue to make a difference. I appreciate those who have been a part of what God's allowed us to do. There's some exciting things happening at Salome. God's ministering there among the native people. That I'm seeing things we dreamed about seeing years ago. Just real quick, one of the updates. A few months ago, a friend of mine, one of my spiritual boys from out in Arizona, I met him in a phone booth. Now, folks, in the mid-'80s, there was about 3.5 million people in the valley, or actually not in the valley, but in the Phoenix area. And if you haven't heard this story before, you're going to do now. God led me to a phone booth to meet Tim. Allowed me, out of 3.5 million people, and I didn't even live there. Somebody don't even know what a phone booth is, but anyway, just kind of go with me. To meet him at a phone booth, to be able to build a relationship, and later look at him in a parking lot and say, Tim, would you like to give your heart to Jesus? And hear him say, I believe I would. And his girlfriend who was with him, who was expecting a child, and they weren't married yet, I said, Becky, would you like to give your heart to Jesus? She said, I believe I would. He called me. He said, Tom, I want to donate some money. Suppose if you have to. Gladly, I took it. Come on, put a smile on your face. That was supposed to be funny. I guess the hard crowd. He said, I want to donate some money for a new HVA system on the church. Well, we had prepared the ductwork and so forth because we knew that was coming. But we didn't know how quick it was coming. Well, when he called and said what he did, I called Steve. I said, Steve, what do you think? You think we need to do that pretty quick? He said, well, it's not getting any better. I said, go buy one. Find out where, get some people, get some bids, get it together. And I thought, well, I'd probably have to go out and make sure that we had everything where it ought to be and it was coming in there together. But we had tried to plan ahead for it. Guess what happened? I didn't have to go out. They brought the new one in, took the old one off, put the new one on there, hooked it up, and it's working great. and I could write out a check for it because somebody paid for it. That's what God's doing. So the scripture that I read to you, and then when I put it together with the one from Matthew, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart. I just shared that for one reason. I just want you to know I love the Lord. He has blessed me, and I'm so thankful. And I'll stop for a minute. If you don't have any questions, then I'm going to be finished. Does anyone have a question you'd like to ask? I guess just about 3 months ago, right before it started getting extra warm. Anybody that knows what I'm talking about knows that it's hot there right now, but it's a dry heat. I loved it, but not everybody does. Yep. And it's a better unit. In fact, the guy that pulled it off, he said, I don't know how you kept this one running. Said it's a God thing. So it's a better unit. It's actually a heat pump unit, which was the kind that was in there before was very. In fact, I think it's one I put on there 20-some years ago. So, anyone else? I want to leave you with this. I really felt heavy in my heart to share what I did today. Hopefully you got some out of it. If you got a nap, that works too. If you didn't, I hope you got something else. But I love you, appreciate you, and I enjoy getting to share with you the great things God's doing.
Thank you, Tom. Tom, why don't you come stand right here? And David, do you mind coming here and standing with Tom? And we're going to have a time of prayer for them. And Mike Brown, I was wondering if you might lead us in prayer today. So, Tom, why don't you guys stand there? And if those of you that would, if you want to come around and lay hands on these guys for the good work that they're doing, and just for all of our missionaries and the requests that we've heard throughout the week. Thank you for coming and participating and praying and listening and encouraging and supporting. We are so thankful for all of you. Mike, would you lead us in prayer?
Lord, today I am thankful for the servant hearts of David and Tom. Thank you for their lives, for their ministry, for the impact that they're having. Thank you for their service. Thank you for their heart. I pray that you will bless them, continue to use them, open doors, continue to pave the way ahead for the future days. I pray that you will bless David in his ministry in our local churches as he continues to promote our department and to inform people, inspire people, challenge people to be involved. Thank you for that ministry. Thank you for that ministry, Lord. I thank you for Tom, and I pray that you be with Pam as well. I thank you for the ministry that she is having. And I pray that you'll continue to bless their lives. And yes, not finished yet. And thank you for the opportunities that there are to serve and to continue to serve and to make a difference in people's lives, to be a witness to people, to inspire people, to help people, to educate, and to just draw them closer to you. That's what we want to do. And thank you that that's happening out there in the West and the ministries there. I pray for Steve and Debbie out there as well, and for all the work and all others that are there, a part of the ministries there, Jake, and I pray that you'll be with them. And Lord, thank you for this time that we've had. I pray that you be with each one of us throughout the remainder of this day. Amen. Amen.
Thank you, Mike. Well, this concludes our missionary services for the week. Tomorrow afternoon, there will be no missionary service, but we do have our family fun day tomorrow. That'll be at 1 o'clock right outside here in the yard. At 3 o'clock today, they're moving. Okay, Fun Day is going to be in the gym. All right, Fun Day will be in the gym. And 3 o'clock's our seminar. David, you just want to share?
Dwight Mason. When you get old, this is what happens. Dwight Mason is going to be with us. He's going to talk about church planting. He's going to talk about satellite works, but he's also going to be talking about evangelism. So you're going to love this seminar. So please come if you will.
All right, God bless you. We'll be back here at 7 o'clock tonight. Have a great day.